All right, Aries, welcome to Aries Rising. This is the astrological, numerological, astronumerology reading for September. We're going to start with the numerology energy just so we can put things in perspective. September being the ninth month, spiritual year of endings, spiritual year meaning enlightenment. So we're in the 9 year, a 9 month double nine energy, lessons learned, things come to the forefront. Also, you're going to have some Sagittarius influence. Sagittarius ruled by Jupiter, which means you got some Jupiter influence. So wherever you have Sagittarius in your natal chart, and for the Aries rising that's in the ninth house, you should expect more things occurring in the ninth house as well. And for you, that is um, divine. You can have information about your grandchildren, information about spiritual leaders, spiritual teachers, gurus. It can also be a time of intense travel. You have to go back and forth from one place to the next. And a time for expanding knowledge, whether it's spiritual based knowledge or it's knowledge in a career, knowledge about cooking. It's just expanding your knowledge in general. So that's the energy. Some things that come to an end, it could be old ways of thinking that come to an end. It could also be old ideas about what your life would look like, and maybe now accepting that your life looks different, or that it is different, or that you are different. Just really more of a reflective type season. So this is going to be a really reflective time for the Aries person, the Aries rising person. Okay. So as I've said to other people, we have these energies that are traveling together. There's the Venus, Mercury, K2 energy traveling together on one aspect. There's the Saturn and Rahu energy traveling together on another aspect. And whatever houses those energies come in contact with during this travel time, will have an extra burst of energy. For Aries, we start out with that Venus, Mercury, K2 energy in your 11th and 12th house. Now, the 12th house is like the endings house. It is the death house in a lot of ways. It's the home house, right? The bed chamber house. So that is in line with a reflective period. And this is also in line with the K2 energy being prominent there at the start. And that K2 energy is a revealer of secrets, revealer of, and not necessarily in a nice way, right? Sometimes you come to these realizations because someone says to you, I never liked you anyway. It's like that kind of thing. And then you're like shocked, right? Like, wait a minute, what do you mean? We've been friends for 30 years. And they were like, well, no, not really. I just tolerated you. It's not that that's necessarily going to happen. That's an example. It's that type of revelation about something that just throws you off guard. You just weren't expecting it. You also have the Mercury energy in the 12th house and the Venus energy in the 11th house. And Venus energy brings about it with a sense of a need for balance because Venus is a joyful, youthful, playing kind of energy, as well as being at home and being taken care of and really loving life. But sometimes it can be too much, right? And sometimes it could not know how to balance the two. And part of Venus ruling Libra requires balance. And it requires you to work on balance in the 11th house. And when you look at balance in the 11th house, this can sometimes deal with your son-in-law, daughter-in-law, you know, other family members. So maybe you have to balance those relationships out. Maybe you have to show a little bit love towards those people. It can also have things to do with your elder siblings and your friends. And so maybe because the 11th house is a tribe kind of energy, the 11th house is natal Aquarius energy. Aquarius is all about looking out for the good of all those people in this circle, right? So that's where your energy starts. So you have your 11th and 12th house are going to be really influenced heavily during this period. And be careful because I know it might seem like you've lost some things during this time, but it's not necessarily a loss. It's just a realignment. You're aligning more with things that bring you purpose. With Aries risings, all of your constellations are in the pattern because Aries is the first house. So if it's the 11th house, it's the 11th house. So everything is really influenced for you almost as if it were at birth, right? Now, the second energy is the Rahu and the Saturn energy. Saturn is a little bit older, reserved, more isolated type energy. And for you, that energy is occurring between your sixth and seventh house. It's aspecting both of those energies. Kind of, it's almost out of the sixth house and moving into the seventh house for you. Now, the thing about this that I want you to pay attention to is that there's the Rahu energy is the opposite of Ketu. Rahu is normally the energy that's on top. This is like the North Node. And so the North Node comes and the North Node is pretty, the North Node is dainty, and the North Node is like, hey, I'm here at the party until you make the North Node mad, until you tell the North Node that they aren't invited to the party. And then they have the K2, the hidden part that comes out and it's a dagger, right? So the North Node is going to explode in a sense, right? Because you say, hey, you're not welcome to the party. This means you could have some abdominal disruptions, right? You can have some small intestine issues. You can have some extra swelling in your body, which means you need to take care of yourself, right? You could have some explosions at work, some little energies where you're like, we're not getting along so well. That sixth house reveals things like enemies, competitors. And when I use those words, I use them loosely because an enemy is someone that we see as not being on our team. Doesn't really mean they're an enemy as far as they're going to try to get to you, but it means that they aren't aligned with you. And this might be a time where those people are revealed and you have to decide, do you want to keep them in your life or not? That's what it is. This is a really important time for you to pay attention to what you eat because, again, you can have those disruptions in the bowel area, the small intestine area. And then, of course, you have the seventh house that's going to be influenced as well. And Saturn, in essence, is Saturn didn't get to be old and distant and alone for no reason. Saturn got to be old, distant, and alone because Saturn was actually paying attention to things, right? Saturn was working and focused on some things and getting some things done. Saturn rules those Capricorn, Aquarius, things that those planets are known for getting things done. They toil, they work, they put in the effort. So in your seventh house, which is about your partnership, careers, and things of that nature, you're going to have to put in the work. This is in business. This is in litigation. This is with your partners, right? Not just romantic partners. This is with your um, yes, on one side, but your business partner. This is with people that you deal with. Again, this brings a focus on the abdomen area and the kidney area. So you're going to have to pay attention to them and take care of it. So anything in your stomach, you could be like, oh, something's going on. Maybe this is time for you to make an appointment to figure out what that is. This is also an interesting thing that happens with the Saturn energy. The Saturn energy always is not always, but oftentimes it's reflecting back on the past. The Saturn energy is reflecting on what could be. So you could be reflecting on potential things like contracts, what could have been done, how much you could have made, how much you could have done, how much you could have. And looking back, it's only good when it comes to appreciation. Don't look back for what could have been on the negative side of it. If you look back, you appreciate, man, I had a great time when I was 35. Man, I had a great time when I was 15. Man, but looking back to see the choices that you made that aren't serving you well today isn't, it's only helpful in a moment to make a different choice. Write it down and make a different choice and move forward. Okay. So let's go forward and see where this energy goes for you. The moon moves into the Rahu and the Saturn type energy. That's around the 7th. And the moon is always like a mothering energy, but it is a revealer. So pay attention to your intuition, because you're going to get some interesting insights as to what's going on. You're going to know what's going on in your health, in your partnerships, and those type of areas. And then it's going to slide over to your 8th house on top of everything else. And, you're going to get some revelation. Oh, and this is interesting, because you're going to get some revelations about some tax situation. And I know in Aries with a tax situation. So pay attention to anything that comes in the mail and act on it quickly. All right. Um, Pay attention to poisonous things, things that you may be consuming that may not be for your highest good, meaning physically in that sense. Okay, and then let's move on. Mainly, this energy stays in those houses. The moon also joins later on, about the 20th or so of the month. It joins that K2 and Mercury energy in your, it's going to go around the 19th. It would actually around the 18th. The moon is going to show up in the 11th house. And then around the 19th, it's going to move into the 12th house. So in the 11th house, it's going to reveal things in the form of your career. Maybe you get a raise at that point. Maybe you get some type of financial gain or improvement at that point. Be careful with your legs. If you're walking too much, maybe you need to get some of the tools that I have to help with your legs and your circulation. And then it's going to show you things that you aspire to achieve during that time. Let's move forward. Towards the last part of the month, the moon shifts and it joins with Mars into your 2nd house. And when it joins with Mars into your 2nd house, the, the 2nd house itself is about what you value. And that means your income. You might be reevaluating that and if it's sufficient for you and where you are in life. That also means your extended family, and it means the property, whatever you own. Sometimes it is a situation where you decide to let go because it's the 9th month and you decide to give up the home, give up some of the things that you thought you valued, and you now have a new thing that you value. You now are placing your value someplace else. Maybe you're looking at getting what's called a movable property, in the sense of a RV or some type of mobile home that gives you the flexibility to travel a little bit more. You're just seeing things differently at this stage, and you're coming to terms with what is important to you, what you value at this time. Um, re-establishing where your value lies at the end of the month. And that's going to continue until around the 28th of the month. You will have another pop of explosive energy that takes place in your 6th house. And then you're going to have a lot of communication that starts taking place at the end of the month. And this communication is, you know, between family members, with siblings. This is going to be, a lot of talking about um, division of things. Like, if you have property and you want to give something to one person, having conversations around that. If it's a family member that transitioned and they have property, you'll be talking about splitting that up. And it's also about getting advice on what to do with things. Could be the property, could be just travel in general, could just be you want to just change your life and you're seeking advice about how to do that. Let's look. I do have both your charts open, by the way, because you have. See here. You don't have go to there it is the 30th. Let's change your page. You quick mention for the Rahu and K2. The Rahu and K2 energy are aligned during this time, means they're like opposite each other, so they're aligned, but they're aligned in the sense that normally Rahu, considered North Node, is up here and K2 is here. They're like this, right? So that means the underworld, the things that are people try to hide, is really more at the forefront. So a lot of things that are coming up and the way they come up just might be overwhelming and unexpected with no grace or love. But do know that things being revealed is better than things being secret. You can do something about things that you know about. It's a little bit hard to work on things that you don't know about. All right. All right. That's it for September. If you like this reading, leave me a comment. Let me know. And maybe I'll do more of these in the future.